IPMNation.com.
It most certainly has been a wild 24 hours. Let's go ahead, get into this.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome back to All Natural Being. I'm Brian Brawdy. And I want to thank you, especially if you listened in last evening at 8 p.m. I have to tell you, it was a pretty cool kind of thing to be doing a show right before the sun sets. I've been accustomed of late, as you know, getting up early every morning doing the show. But because of a little bit of a technical glitch day before yesterday, you ever get to one of those points where you're like, all right, enough. So until we figure out exactly what the internet was going to be like, how we're going to guarantee that it can work, because out of respect for you, if you're tuning in every morning, I want to make sure we can bring our A game, as you know. So we had to switch a few things around. So what we did yesterday is that in the morning we did the rebroadcast, right? It's like a Who's on First? No, what's that, Abbott and Costello, that old gig, if you're old enough to remember that? Who's on first? What's on second? No, he's on third. So I know it's a little bit confusing, but we did the morning show, rebroadcast the morning show so you could hear it, minus all the choppiness. And then last evening, decided to do yesterday's show in the evening. So it's a little surreal. I have like all day to try to prepare for it and get ready. And then I'm thinking, all right, well, it's nighttime. Do I really want to get into all this cool stuff in the evening when some people listening, depending upon what part of the world you're listening from, a lot of people are getting ready to wind down. So is that the best time to be doing a show about all natural being when people are getting ready to pack it in? Now, if you work the midnight shift or you're in a part of the world where your day was just starting, that was groovy. So as I was doing the show, I found myself, I was kind of torn. Do I want to be doing a show in the morning to get everyone fired up? Is it a good idea to do the show in the evening, help everyone kind of wind down? And it reminded me of a quote, one of my favorites. Right? End of the day. I think it was Wind, Sand, and Stars, but Saint-Exupéry. In anything at all, perfection is finally attained, not when there is no longer anything to add, but when there is no longer anything to take away. When a body has been stripped down to its nakedness. So I thought, wait, if we're going to do an evening show, how cool would that be to help everybody strip away, all right? Perfection attained. Not when we're still trying to add more late in the day, but we're trying to strip things away. Which for me, I kind of dig, because we get to strip away our blind spots. We get to strip away some of the negative self-talk, some of the self-defeating chatter in our minds. We get to strip away some of the cognitive kudzu vines, the invasive species that literally hold us down and trap us. We could get to strip away some of our amnesia, some of the flies in the ointment. We could strip all of those away if we did a show at the end of the day. So I think what I'd like to do, because it was kind of cool to be honest with you, I'd like to learn from you. You can hit me at IPMNation.com. As always, give me your email. I'll trade you an email back. Let me know there. Let me know on Twitter. Let me know on Facebook. Hit me up, 331-684-7685, which is 331-684-SOUL. Hit me up. Let me know. What do you think? Should we continue to do a live morning show? Excuse me. Kind of prepare us for a day, kind of pump us up? Or should we consider All Natural Being a show that causes us to reflect on the day that we've already had, strip away some of those things, really make it a philosophical loofah to kind of, peel away some of the things that have happened to us throughout the day so that we can prime our minds to kick back, relax, fall asleep, and know that it'll take care of all the heavy lifting while we're sleeping. So I'd love to get your input. I'd love to see what you think as to what would be the best time to do the show live. Now, it'll still air as it does, 7 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Eastern, and then again at 8 p.m., but maybe what we should do is the 8 p.m. should be the live show. So let me know what you think. Let the good folks, Matt and Jen, the two of the bigwigs at IPM Nation, let them know what you think would be the best time so that we can get the most out of our time together. We can get the most out of hanging out and reconnecting to our all-natural being. Now, before we jump into it, I want to thank the top 10 cities. Top 10 cities that have made us, that continue to make us the number one show here on IPM Nation, made it possible for us to hook up with iTunes, be able to have a library there. These cities are the ones that day in and day out come on board, listen to the show, send me their feedback, give me some ideas of what the next show should be about, so I wanted to thank them. Manchester, New Hampshire, Boston, Massachusetts, Rochester, Chicago, Illinois, New York, New York, Aurora, Illinois, Dover, New Hampshire, Washington, D.C., Cleveland, Ohio, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And I know, just given some of the people that have been letting me know where they're listening from, I know that Atlanta is big. So Atlanta didn't make the top 10 this week, but I'm sure it's going to crack it again next week. All right, someone's taking advantage, 331-684-7685. I'm getting a text now that says both times. This particular listener says both times, but I'm a little biased. But nighttime might help others a little better. So I'd hate to, can't you imagine the advertising? Thank you very much for the text. Appreciate it. Can you imagine the advertising? Oh, here's a show guaranteed to help you fall asleep. If you're into narcolepsy, this is the show for you. I don't know. I think we may have to look at that and see if that's something that will be a huge benefit overall. Because I tell you, my number one mission remains, as it is every day, regardless of what time we're going to come live, regardless of the tape, regardless of, I'm told people are listening on TuneIn, so thank those folks there. Regardless of what time we get to hang out together, and maybe you're just doing the podcast version, our library, our audio library. Regardless of the time we get to hang out together, it remains my number one mission at All Natural Being to make certain that well beyond any doubt, to be able to guarantee that if you hang with me throughout the show, your confidence, because of the time you spend with me, your confidence is going to make a huge comeback. Huge. Now, it's not because I think I'm anything special. It's because I think you're something pretty special. And that if we just focus on that specialness within you, you're going to have a renaissance of reverence for who you truly are that is going to make your confidence skyrocket. And no matter what the future holds, when we bring our own bold, when we bring our confidence at an all-natural level, it's not as scary as some people think. We don't have to worry about all the self-defeating chatter. When we bring our all-natural being and the over-the-top confidence that comes with that, then that's the key to living a life that thrills you. It really is that plain and simple. Your happiness, your success and fulfillment, personally, professionally, spiritually, athletically, depends on your ability in the moment to bring your own bold. Now, for over 30 years, I've been driven to decipher the code of mental well-being. It's kind of like a thing with me. Some could say I'm obsessed with finding a strategy for authentic, passionate cognitive optimization. Matter of fact, I have what are called, the ex-cop in me, but cognitive optimization programs. Because I believe in my heart, in the marrow of my spine, that you deserve euphoria as a lifestyle. You are entitled at every turn to a life that thrills you. So that's why we're here. To work on ways, chipping away, philosophical loofah, philosophical jackhammer for some. But chipping away at those things, peeling away. Again, remember as he said, in anything at all, perfection is finally attained. Not when there is no longer anything to add, but when there is no longer anything to take away. Think about that. Perfection, when we strip away the baggage, when we strip away our blind spots, when we strip away those things that are holding us in check, the chains, the tethers, the ties that bind us. When we strip that away, what do you and I have? Our all-natural being. Our inner superhuman status, minus all the baggage, minus all the conditioning, minus all the things that have been piled on us since we were little. That's what we're left with. And that is not only a mysterious, a magical thing, it's a beautiful thing. I believe in you, even in those times where you don't. It's kind of hard always to channel your all-natural being, to bring your own bold. But that's the goal of our show, is in my own little way to remind you, not of what I think, but to remind you of who you are. All right, we're getting another text. Oh, here's our second vote for nighttime. Nighttime might not be a bad time to do it. I don't know. It's kind of hard, though. I have to be honest with you. Last evening, I was like, okay, well, in case people are listening before they're getting ready to fall asleep, I need to sit on my hands. I was trying not to talk too fast, because you imagine, like having a cup of coffee before you go to bed. I don't drink coffee. I couldn't tell you, but it would seem to me that might not be the best thing. So, but we have a second vote for a nighttime show. We got to work something out. Maybe our best bet is to do some of them live. You know, maybe our best bet is to do like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live in the morning, and a Tuesday, Thursday, live in the evenings. That's the nice thing about it. Get to do the show whenever we like. So keep that in mind. Again, 331-684-7685. Let me know what you think would be a good time to do this show. When do you think it would be a time that would be most beneficial to you? And then we'll set out, see what we can come up with. All right, today's anaerobic aphorism. Wisdom is learning to find the deep correlation between the butterflies in your stomach and the pots of gold at the end of the rainbow. And this, too, was born out of a question that was sent to me at allnaturalbeing.com. People say, oh, sometimes I just get so nervous it causes me to sit on the sidelines. Did you ever wonder, ever notice really, that those times that you're nervous, you're right on the edge. And perhaps you're nervous because you're about to learn something new. You're about to do something new. Perhaps that nervousness bubbles up to give you the energy to try something different. Nervousness isn't always a bad thing. It might very well be that we have that nervousness to give us the juice we need, help us jumpstart whatever it is we're about to do. Maybe that's the root cause of nervousness. We know that if it's negative self-talk, we've talked before about the fight, the flight, or the freeze, the dorsal dive whenever we're petrified by what's going to go on. But that doesn't mean it's always that way. It's not that black and white, as we said last evening. Not that black and white. What if some of that energy comes, some of the butterflies in your stomach? Because that's the very energy you need to kick in the door and do this exactly the way your heart's telling you should. Could be. What if being on the edge is an invitation to being your best? Feeling a little edgy, a little nervous. Adrenaline starts to pump. Your heart starts to race a little bit. What if that's not a bad thing? What if that's to give you, right then, in that moment, the tools you need to pull it off? Just something to think about. And that's why it's going to be today's anaerobic aphorism. Learning to find the deep correlation. This is the definition of wisdom. Learning to find the deep correlation between stomach butterflies and pots of gold at the end of the rainbow. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the labyrinth today because I get most of my questions pertain. I think a lot of people understand that they have their all-natural being. I think a lot of people understand that they have an inner superhuman. They can feel that it's in check. But of all the questions I'm asked, it's the one about the theory of the labyrinth, where we are, heaven or the Higgs field. What is this field that we're enmeshed in? What is life? So I thought, even though it's somewhat spiritual concept, I thought I'd go ahead and pull in some heavyweights from the fields of quantum physics, from the fields of science, to kind of help us out with this morning. But first, what I'd like to do, we've talked before about thought experiments, and I want to go back to this concept of destiny. Albert Einstein said, what did he say? That imagination is more important than knowledge. So let's do a quick thought experiment. A little bit of mental gymnastics to help jumpstart our minds. Imagine, just for this moment, right now, that right before your birth, you learn you're in the running for a human consciousness. You're on the short list. But the offer comes with a couple of strings attached, right? You got to read the fine print. And Providence moves to explain the details of the non-negotiable deal right up front. Doesn't want there to be any questions. It is the cost of the ticket to board the ride that brings you to this life. Now, the terms and conditions pretty straightforward and clear. The price for the overall opportunity of a lifetime is the all-in, wholehearted acceptance of your personal destiny. It makes it pretty clear. Should you be awarded an individual-sized packet of the universe's overall energy, should you be granted your little packet, your little subset of the universal pristine, you pledge, you're all in for a tour de force life. You promise to vigorously apply all of your natural resources and authentic vitality to optimize not just your mind, but your time on earth. Living with unbridled vision and passion. That's the gig you're being offered, right? The lifestyle of euphoria. Can't have any apathy. No apathy allowed. Now, this sweet deal also comes with a bit of a warning. On your final day, you will be held accountable for your overall energy expenditure. This deal isn't for administrating any type of conservation, but for courageousness applied. Bring in your A game. You commit to surrender yourself to death fully spent, 100% toast. Your mental and physical reserves completely depleted, having burned through every bit of the nerve, the strength, the brilliance given to you at the outset of the gig. Now, if you decide to jump in, you better go all out. There is no room in life for mediocrity or the mundane or to be listless. Swear to live the life you're about to get to the hilt, or step aside, get out of the way, and we'll call the next being, again, just a thought experiment, we'll call the next being in line. So you think about it for a second, sounds like a sweet deal. You take the divine up on its offer, and it's a deal encoded, genetically programmed into your DNA. You vow to live life fully, to think sharply, and leave empty. Now, your contract with your Creator is sealed, and there's an outstanding invoice on your head, and there's only one way to pay it off. The adventure and your obligation begins. You depart as the guardian of your own grit. Your awesome is built in, hardwired, with the potential to pull off almost anything. You're constituted with a natural resilience, a natural temperament, and the tools to complete the transaction, to fulfill your unique, authentic destiny. Now, fight as it may, and it will, that's its job, fate has other plans, as you and I know, moment you arrive. Journeying into the labyrinth of life, fate is there to confound and obstruct us at every turn. Even so, here's the good news. You can't be derailed. Huff and puff as it might, like the wolves, the wolf's going to blow your house down. Huff and puff as it might, fate cannot void your destiny. Not unless you're a co-conspirator. Not unless you give it permission. For it to win, you must aid and abet. Which means there are really only two types of people in the world. Those that keep the promise and those that take a pass. Those that adhere to the original conditions of their adventure and those that cave, surrender, acquiesce to fate. It's a dangerous game to be playing because I think the universe holds grudges, and it's got a huge lifelong memory. So in the end it comes down, live your purpose or be damned. You took an oath to be impeccably human, to bring your A game to this life. And that initiative is indelibly etched into your soul. And I think your dreams are simply an echo of that treaty, reverberating throughout time and your mind. So here's the deal. Seal it. Seal the deal or go home broken. You made a pact with the higher power, however you decipher and define it. My question is, are you living up to that promise? You entered a bargain. The question you got to ask yourself, God delivered, put you here. Are you delivering? Are you sealing the deal? Are you keeping up your end of the bargain? So how do we do that? Our end of the bargain is making sure that we continue to fulfill our destiny at every turn. Now, for some people, this concept of, what does Grant Cardone call it? He says, success is your duty, your obligation, and your responsibility. In this regard, I take it to mean success as being impeccably human. It's your duty, it's your obligation, it's your responsibility. But a lot of people look at this thought experiment and go, really, souls, before you were born, you signed a deal. It's a thought experiment. But I wanted to bring in some other big guns to help us. Because in this day and age, people say, oh, what's reality, though? I need to know what the truth is. What's really going on? And I love the quote from John Archibald Wheeler. In any field, find the strangest thing and then explore it. Which is kind of why I dig being in nature, because you never know what the strangest thing is, what's going to pop up, what you're going to be able to investigate in that moment. But Niels Bohr, you remember Niels? Nobel Prize winning scientist. Huge deal. Brilliant mind. A lot to do with quantum mechanics and the like. I had 3 quotes that I wanted to share with you. Things that just always seem to reverberate in my mind whenever I think about these thought experiments. Whenever, even as I'm preparing the show and getting ready to talk to you, going, life is a good bit more mysterious, a good bit more magic than you think. So Niels Bohr, your theory is crazy, he said to a coworker, but it's not crazy enough to be true. Think about that. Your theory is crazy, but it's not crazy enough. He knew that reality, what's the quote? Reality isn't stranger than we imagine. It's stranger than we can imagine. So he says, your theory is crazy, but it's not crazy enough to be true. So let me ask you, in your life, could you have been encoded with the destiny? Might be a crazy theory. Is it crazy enough to be true? Another one of his quotes I love. He goes, no. You're not thinking. You're just being logical. Well, what if some of the things that you and I discuss here on All Natural Being have nothing to do with being logical? What if it really is that mysterious? What if your life really is that wild? What if there is a labyrinth where your brain, your body, and the borderlands of where you are all work together to help unfold you and your environment, dovetailing together. What if that's it? What if you're not a distinct, independent being? But what if you really are enmeshed in this field? Higgs field or heavenly field? Your call. And what if that's what Niels Bohr was saying? Your theory is crazy. It's not crazy enough to be true. And then the third one that I've always liked about him, and I have this one hanging in the studio as well. Everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. You get to the subatomic level, not a lot of reality there. Or the reality is there's nothing is stationary. Nothing is concrete as it appears to be. So what if this concept of being born with a destiny, dropped in the labyrinth to go ahead and manifest that destiny? Now please, when I use the word manifest, every single time you talk about a negative thought experiment, every single time I think, oh, you've got to manifest this in your life, or in order to manifest that. Not the type of manifesting I'm talking about. Don't get burned by the secret. Yet another carrot, the end of another stick, it's going to turn out to be a sharp one. You'll get poked in the eye with it. But manifest your destiny. Within this moment, the only moment you and I truly have. What if that theory is crazy enough to be true? And Niels Bohr knew his stuff. What if you and I are thinking too logically? What if there really is a mystery to this life? Synchronicity, epiphany, eureka, serendipity, chance coincidences, all the different things that bubble up in the lefts, the rights, the ups, the downs, the swivels, the pivots, all the shifting that goes on in the labyrinth, all the things that pop up, all the fingerprints of providence. What if that's because our brain, our body, and our border interact just below our awareness, and that one works for the other? Read a fascinating study, watched a bunch of videos on it yesterday as well, about how they're saying that your body does a great job of letting your brain off the hook in some situations. When it comes to walking, when it comes to physically completing some habits, it just knows. And when you go through in greater detail in some of these studies, it's not just all the brain. It's a brain in a body surrounded by its environment, all the sensory input that's taking in. That we really are enmeshed. And our cognition is, how could you say, our cognition is the melding together of all those things, of the brain, the body, and the border of where we are. Again, John Archibald Wheeler, in any field. Find the strangest thing and then explore it. Well, let's explore that for a moment. Before we do, let's run to a quick... Oh, it's already the bottom of the hour. Let's run to a quick station break. We'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
You know, we don't have to take the scientific bent if you want. If you want a philosophical one, we could look at John Donne's poem, No Man is an Island. No man, no woman, is an island entire unto itself. Remember from the beginning of Hemingway's book? Ask for not who the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. That talks about being entangled. That talks about being enmeshed. So what if it's just crazy enough that you and I are right? You're born with a destiny. You're dropped into the labyrinth to go ahead and manifest that destiny. What would yours be? If you grab your journal, your logbook, your evidence blotter, you decide to write it down, what would it be? What could that destiny of yours be? And all the better if it puts some butterflies in your stomach. Because maybe after all this time, midlife crisis, quarter life crisis, whatever it is, maybe after all this time, you and I are like, nope, we're going to do it. What would it be? And as always, we go back to the 22nd victory. I said yesterday, instant impact when your mind starts all the crazy talk. Instant impact. Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, take that thought to the grand jury. There's your action. Throw it in front of the grand jury. Quiz it. Make sure that it's not revisionist history. Make sure you're not being told something that isn't really true. For 20 minutes today, 1/72nd of your day. How cool would it be if it could take you just that 20 minutes to become yourself once more? What would it be? This is one big thought experiment. And remember, Niels Bohr, gotta love him. Your theory is crazy, but it's not crazy enough to be true. If you're going to chart, and by chart I mean just write down in your journal, your destiny, why not make it crazy enough to be true? Here's what modern science, and by science, let's focus just for a second on quantum physics, quantum mechanics. It is absolutely stranger than we can even imagine. You look at some of the brilliance back in that day, Bohr, Einstein, a whole host of really brilliant folks. And I remember, I think it was Richard Feynman one time that said that there may be 3 people on the planet smart enough to know what quantum mechanics is all about. It is a wild ride at the subatomic level. Now, we've been conditioned to look out and say, we're here, the outside is in fact the outside. But at the subatomic level, we know that's not true. So again, Niels Bohr, everything we call real is made up of things that cannot be regarded as real. It's all a mystery. It's all magical. So if you were going to bring that into the quest of manifesting your destiny, make it crazy enough that it could be true. You hear about the time about wildest dreams. Make it crazy enough as you write it down. What could that destiny be? What could it be? And it could very well be that being crazy enough is the key to performing at your peak. Crazy enough. No negative voices. Just you. Your brain, your body, your border. Now, at times, we have to outthink ourselves, right? We talked about that yesterday, the negative voices popping up. Times, have to take a cognitive inventory. Some of the good, some of the bad, some of the optimistic, some of the pessimistic. Realizing it all just is. We don't need to be judgmental. Thoughts come, they bubble up, thoughts go. Thought about it yesterday. I was driving around out on the highway that we have here in Illinois. And cars just passing in the left-hand lane. Or the cars I was passing. They're in the right-hand lane. That's what thoughts are. They're like passing cars. If you get hung up on them, you follow them, you tailgate them, ride the bumper, drive too close, whatever it is, then you give that thought more power. It stays focused and centered in your mind. But when it comes time to taking a cognitive inventory of all those thoughts, go, great, they're just thoughts. And maybe some of the craziest thoughts truly are the key to peak performance. Could be. Which leads me to an article that I found yesterday afternoon, as a matter of fact. Amy Marin, over at Forbes magazine, quote, living in the moment can feel like an impossible task in today's world. Boy, can it. Social media alerts, emails, text messages, all kinds of craziness going on. She says that the technology isn't the only reason we're distracted. It's not like we can blame Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat. Everyone's got to be connected. And then you look, why do we need to be so connected? Because we are. It's a subconscious realization that we're already connected in the labyrinth, the subatomic level. Heaven or the Higgs field, your call. We're already connected. And that's why there's an app for that. Social media. It's because it realizes that underlying connection. And subconsciously, we're drawn to it because it's what we are. But outside of that, there's also, as she says, a tug of war. I love this. A tug of war going on in our brains. We're rehashing and rehearsing what happened yesterday. And then, flip of a coin, we're worrying about what might happen tomorrow. She goes on to say, or answers the question, why living in the here and now matters. Because ultimately, the only change we can make is one that comes in this moment. Can't change anything about the past. Absolutely can't change anything about the future. All we can do is tap into the truly unimaginable power of the now. Because that's when changing our behavior makes sense. It's the only thing we can do. Ms. Marin goes on to say that a study found that we're distracted 47% of the time. And that distraction has taken a serious toll on our happiness. It's no wonder we feel frazzled. It's no wonder we feel like either life is letting us down or we're letting life down. 47% of the time. In the next 30 seconds. If that's true, the next 30 seconds, 15 of that 30 seconds, your mind will be somewhere else. She goes on to talk about the increased benefits of mindfulness. She says, quote, everyone from elite athletes to top business executives are starting to harness the power of mindfulness. Emerging research continues to show just how powerful living in the moment can be. Here are some of her benefits. Increased relationship satisfaction. That's pretty cool. It says that couples who practice mindfulness, they have healthier relationships. That's nice to know. Improved physical health. Well, I should say, when you have mindfulness, when you're mindful, when you're connected, when your head and your heart dovetail, when you listen for the hints of your destiny unfolding as you do in the moment, there's a lot less stress, a lot less worry. When we dovetail our heart and our head and we grow the thickness of our skin, both on the outside and on the inside, when we build a healthy ego shield, all the crazy talk, oh, you couldn't do that. Don't even think about that. You're not smart enough, not fast enough, not tall enough, whatever enough. Build that healthy temporal distance between yourself and the ego. That's got to improve physical health. It's even been found to boost immunity, right? Because if we're not stressful, we're firing on all cylinders, all the little things gunning for us every day, all the little germs and this and that, it's got to help. Here's another one that she put, decreased emotional reactivity. Well, we talk about that all the time. Reactivity, because we don't have an ego shield. We haven't taken the time to cultivate our sense of instant impact by breathing in, exhaling, scanning the horizon, taking action. According to our article, quote, studies indicate that mindfulness can decrease the intensity of negative emotions. You'll be better able to perform despite whatever difficulties you're experiencing around you. Now, it doesn't mean that emotional reactivity is always about negative emotions. As we said this morning, learning to find the deep correlation between stomach butterflies and pots of gold at the end of the rainbow, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes we want to react in the moment to the evidence that we're finding. But the difference is that reactivity is to the fingerprints of providence we're uncovering, not some of the stuff being thrown at us from the outside. Another benefit, she says, heightened focus. Quote, researchers have found that mindfulness improves attention. With practice, you'll be better able to ignore distractions. Well, we know that. That's the benefit. And meditation, as we've talked before, doesn't have to be all this hocus pocus fairy tale kind of stuff. You're simply going to sit or stand or do it walking or do it lying down or do it kneeling, wherever it grabs you. You're going to breathe in. You're going to exhale. Completely collapse your stomach. Pull your navel towards your spine. Get all that air out of the deepest part of your lungs. Then you're just going to scan the horizon. You're going to check your six. See what's going on around you. And then you take action. It's really no more mysterious than that. One of the other benefits, the study says, increased mental strength. Well, we kind of know that. We can't let our minds sidetrack us all of the time. Because if it's true, 47% of the time we're sidetracked. If our minds are sidetracking us, its chances pretty good your soul is on the sidelines. Because if your soul were in the game, there'd be no way fate could distract you almost half the time. So if you're distracted, as we've said before, if you're distracted, it's because you're not really thrilled with the moment. You ever been so thrilled with where you were, what you were doing, how you were feeling, you're just like, oh man, time flies when you're having fun. You're not distracted because you love where you are. You love what you're doing. Perhaps even love who you're with. So when we're distracted, we're kind of being dishonest with ourselves. Now, we talked before about mental meandering as opposed to just letting your mind run crazy. And the mental meandering is when we're attuned in the moment, sensory information coming in, fingerprints of providence coming in. What are we going to do in that particular instant to decipher whether this information is helpful or hurtful when it comes to the release of our all-natural being? So when we're daydreaming, chances are pretty good it's because we're not happy with where we are in the moment. So if we want to increase some mental strength, if we want to increase our mental health, the best way, as always, is to remember who works for who. Your mind's a tool. And although I make fun of the term mindfulness from time to time, as I say, I like mindlessness. I make fun of the term mindfulness. It's because your mind is a tool. Do you hear people running around going, I think I'd like to practice the ancient art of stomachfulness. I'd like to practice the ancient art of lungfulness. It's a tool for your all-natural being to decode the labyrinth in the moment, to help you manifest your destiny, to guarantee that when you ask that question, was I me? You don't have to go home having broken your deal. And I love the word euphoria because that's what you're here to have. Your life is meant to thrill you, not incarcerate you, not to keep you down, not to make you feel blah or melancholy. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Only you know. Write it down in your journal. Write it down in your logbook. Because this is one of the most important conversations you will ever have. Ask yourself, who am I? Where am I? And what am I going to do about it? We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
All right, let's talk about that. How much longer are you going to let them? Now, the them may be people outside of you, but the them could also be your negative thoughts. How much longer are you going to let them hijack your heart and your head? What if today is the day we say no more head games? I'm done. No thanks. I'm done. I'm not going to let them hijack my heart and my head. You deserve that. That's the beginning of a life that thrills you. The Bhagavad Gita says that all of humankind is born for perfection, and each of us will attain it. Will they but follow their nature's duty? So what's your duty? If Cardone is right, although a bit over the top in the presentation of it, if he's right, what is your duty? What is your obligation? What is your responsibility? And no matter what you think, fall back on Niels Bohr. I always do. Is your understanding of why you're here crazy enough to be true? Is it? Because if it isn't, it's time to bounce it. If it isn't crazy enough, what would it take to make it crazy enough? Well, one of the things we can do, we've talked about this before, for people that feel like they're a failure at happiness, for people that feel like happiness and fulfillment and success are always for other people. One of the cool things that we can do right now, next 20 seconds, love it if it's the next 20 minutes, but for the next 20 seconds, just embrace that sense of uncertainty. Right? Because when you embrace that uncertainty, when you throw yourself into the thick of the labyrinth, that's a confidence builder. Because you're able to take whatever the universe throws at you, whatever the wormholes are, the rabbit holes. We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves and say, oh, I'll just sit here on the couch. We're looking for rabbit holes. We're looking for wormholes. We're throwing ourselves into the entanglement and figuring out what it's there to teach us. And if we find some things where we go, I normally don't enjoy that. Every so often, that's just a pain in the tuchus. But we engage it. Not embrace it, but engage it. Maybe our mind has been selling us a false bill of goods. Maybe. Maybe it's not as uncertain as we thought. Maybe it's not as negative as we thought. Now, I don't want to go all stoic, right? It's popular today to talk about the Stoics and their belief of the negative path, because I don't even believe there's a negative path. It just is. And when we always look for the bright side, we miss a ton. Because maybe it's within the dark side that we're supposed to see the light for our next footstep. We're supposed to uncover the fingerprint of providence. If it's true, we mentioned the Bhagavad Gita, all you got to do, follow your nature's duty. If that's true, you and I don't know in advance if the duty comes in the light or the dark. So what are you going to do? I say embrace the fuzzy. It's fuzzy. Can't tell. Can't see. But I'm going in anyways. I'm going to be open to whatever the universe throws at me. I'm going to be open. Might be fuzzy. Might be uncertain. Might cause me to have butterflies. But I'm here for the pot of gold. I'm here for the rainbow. I'm here to manifest my destiny because I will not go back having broken my deal. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to be taking. I'm open. Whatever you got, give me another scoop. Give me a nice, healthy serving of that. And when we do, we don't close ourselves off from all the evidence that bubbles up around us and in us, our brain, our body, our borders. We quickly realize that our borders are a good bit more extended than we think. So ask yourself, if you were going to give yourself 20 minutes today to really come up with a thought crazy enough to be true, come up with an idea for yourself crazy enough to be true, what would that idea be? And then write it down. As we talked about yesterday, when those negative thoughts pop up, oh, that's too crazy, too crazy. Oh, no, here he goes again. When those pop up, slap him in front of the grand jury. Really? Is it all that bad? Is it going to kill me? We talked yesterday about the fear of public speaking. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Really? If I have a bad speech, they're going to let these wild carnivores, hungry, tooth and clawed carnivores, going to let them loose on the stage? No. We might as well throw ourselves into the ring. Be open to what's about to happen. No pessimism, no optimism, just ism. Maybe that could be our new affirmation. What are you going to be today? Open. What are you going to be today? Available. Now, you know in your own mind, I'm not suggesting you are available, make yourself available to negative people, to toxic relationships, the walking, talking Venus flytraps of life. Ready? Oh, land over here, land over here. As soon as you do, whoa, closes right up on you. Then you really are inside going, oh, no. Don't leave yourself open for the walking, talking, voracious pits of quicksand. But leave yourself open for the experience of the labyrinth. Leave yourself open for the blending of the brain, the body, and the border. Be crazy enough in this 20-minute victory that it could actually, Bri, it could be true. And when we leave ourselves open for that, our life unfolds the way it should, all naturally. And when that fear bubbles up, when those thoughts bubble up, as we discussed yesterday, great, let them bubble up. Hey, thanks. I know you're just kind of watching out for me. You're like my partner. You got my back. But in this instance, you're wrong. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to obsess about it. So why don't you go ahead, take a back seat, get some coffee, take a break, hit a donut shop. If you want to continue the cop metaphor, hit a donut shop. But I got this. I'll take it from here. Because that part of our ego is never going to let us to be crazy enough to find out the truth. Just not going to happen. It's not here for crazy. It's here to protect the candle. We're here to light the wick, keep the flame alive. And that part of you, as we said yesterday, that part of you, negative self-talk, the invasive species, it's there to go, nope, I'm all about the candle. Don't care about the wick or the flame. But what if you and I really do want to go back, fully spent, dragging ourselves to the finish line? Nothing left but the memories of a life that just thrilled us, of a truly euphoric existence. And people go, oh, life's not about euphoria, Brian. You need to live in the real world. Well, I need to be just crazy enough to see if it's true. And I believe you do deserve a euphoric existence. That's what you're here for. That's what we're all here for. So, we're in the labyrinth. There are going to be some impromptu sinkholes from time to time. Sure. But is the fear of future sinkholes enough to leave us sitting on the couch? Not for you, or you wouldn't be listening to this show. give yourself permission to go, yeah, there might be a sinkhole. I'll jump over it. I'll walk around it. Ooh, maybe I can even plumb down into it, see what's going on. Maybe the sinkhole is a wormhole, a rabbit hole. Give yourself permission to think just crazy enough that it could be true. What would you do? And the moment you begin to do that, if the butterflies kick in, the butterflies are there going, hell yeah. She's on it now. He's revving it up. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And that's that little bit of energy you feel in the base of your stomach. But the more you do this, the more you're able to channel that energy and to live that euphoric existence. And for so many of us, euphoria is so far down on our list of things that we could do to describe our life, it just seems absolutely unimaginable to have a life that thrills you at every turn. Seems absolutely off the table. But it doesn't need to be, because it isn't. You decide right now, for the next 20 minutes, if you were going to live a euphoric existence, what would you do? Then write it down. And that's the beauty of this. It's not one size fits all. You know what the answer to this is. You know what it will take to have the confidence and the courage to go, I don't care what sinkholes there are in the future. Oh, good golly, it's already the top of the hour. All right, don't forget, allnaturalbeing.com will be announcing next week. Oh, Jim, if Jim is listening, is the winner of this week's 20-minute victory. So we're glad to have Jim. We'll be reaching out, making sure it's cool with him. Setting some time, him and me, hang out together, do a 20-minute victory. In the interim, don't forget, go over to allnaturalbeing.com. Let's trade emails. Drop me your thoughts. People that are sharing some of our posts on Facebook, some of our tweets on Twitter, and the like, those names get thrown onto a list. Then we drop a pen, and wherever the pen lands on that list, that's the name that we pick. So go ahead, drop me a line if you want in. 20-minute victory could be yours next week. Also, we're going to be doing so many cool things that we have coming up, including the TV. We're going to be working really hard on that today. I keep saying television, but I more mean a video presentation. So you're going to get to see the studio. You're going to get to see some of the things that we do when we're hanging out. So we've got that coming next week as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Remember, until next time, as the announcer's going to say before we go, bring your own bold. And channeling your inner Niels Bohr, make it crazy enough that it just could be true. Emily Dickinson said one time in a poem that the brain is wider than the sky. So when you think about it, don't be held by any boundary. Mental health. Throw your mind out there. Make it as crazy as you can possibly imagine. And hopefully crazy enough to be true. And when those little voices pop up to try to slam your attempt, put them in front of the grand jury. You'll realize pretty quickly they're not going to stand up to you. Once you tap into your all-natural being, they're going to sit in the corner where they belong. Have a great day. Thank you so much for the text during the show, letting me know whether you think we should do a morning show or an evening show. I'm open for any and all suggestions. We're looking forward to hanging out with you tomorrow.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.